They wanted an audience. They wanted me to fall apart right there. Right in front of everyone, while champagne fizzed over crystal glasses and strangers worked hard not to gawk. That was the moment they were waiting for. I didn't give it to them. I did the opposite. I smiled, lifted my glass, and quietly kicked off something that would turn their flawless midnight celebration into a memory they'd relive in terror for the rest of their lives. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me rewind a few days. 5 days before New Year's Eve, I found a property transfer document sitting in my spouse's briefcase. Marcus had left it on the kitchen counter after rushing out for a morning run. I wasn't snooping. I was just trying to make room for my coffee. When I moved the briefcase, the folder slipped, paper slid everywhere, and that's when I saw it. Our house. The brownstone in Boston's South End, the place we'd renovated together room by room, was being transferred to an LLC I'd never heard of. My hands went numb almost instantly. Marcus was a private equity partner, so LLCs and shell companies were part of his daily life. But our home? Our personal property? That was different. And he'd never done anything like that without talking to me first. Never. I snapped photos of every page with fingers that wouldn't stop shaking, shoved the papers back into the folder, and called the one person I trusted to tell me the truth without softening it. Maya-chan picked up on the second ring. "It's 7 in the morning," she said. "This better be important." "He's hiding assets," I told her. "I found transfer papers. Marcus is moving our house into some company I don't recognize." The line went silent. Maya and I had been roommates back at Boston University 15 years earlier. She went on to law school while I followed art history. Now she was a partner at one of the top family law firms in the city, and I curated exhibitions at a gallery on Newbury Street. "Can you come to my office today?" I was there by noon. Her corner office looked out over the harbor, gray December waves slamming into the piers below. She had my photos spread across her desk, along with several other documents she'd pulled in just a few hours. "Let me ask you something," she said. "When was the last time you checked your credit report?" "I don't know. Maybe a year ago." "Why?" She turned her laptop toward me. "Because your spouse filed for divorce in Nevada 2 months ago." The room felt like it tipped sideways. "That's not possible," I said. "I never signed anything. I didn't even know about it." "He forged your signature," Maya said gently, but without hesitation. "I pulled the filing. It doesn't match your handwriting. I've already sent it to a forensic examiner I work with. She'll have a preliminary report by tomorrow." I stared at the screen. There was my name, my supposed signature, me agreeing to end a marriage I still thought existed. Sure, we'd had issues. Marcus worked insane hours. We'd grown distant. But divorce? Secretly? Without a word. "There's more," Maya said. "The LLC that holds the house, it's owned by someone named Vivian Monroe. Does that ring a bell?" It did. Vivian was a 26-year-old associate at Marcus's firm. She'd joined 2 years earlier, straight out of Wharton. I'd met her at company events. She was sharp, ambitious, always polished. Marcus mentioned her occasionally, always professionally. "Oh God," I said. Maya nodded. "I'm sorry. But here's what we're going to do." She leaned forward. "You're going to act completely normal. Marcus is hosting that New Year's Eve dinner at Odyssey, right? 8 other couples, friends and clients." I nodded. Odyssey was his favorite place. Rooftop restaurant. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Harbor views. $400 a plate. "Perfect," she said. "You're going to go. You'll smile. You'll play the perfect spouse. I'll be there too, at a different table with my husband. You won't acknowledge me. And when midnight hits, no matter what happens, you're going to record everything." "Why?" I asked. "Because if he's bold enough to forge divorce papers," she said, "he's bold enough to do something stupid in public. And when he does, we'll bury him with it." The next 3 days were the strangest of my life. I drifted through our house like a ghost, watching Marcus lace up for his runs, kiss my cheek before work, ask about my day over dinner. He was flawless, calm, convincing. I kept wondering how long he'd been rehearsing this version of himself. On December 29th, the forensic examiner confirmed it. The signature was fake. She said she'd stake her professional reputation on it in court. The next day, I opened my jewelry box and felt my stomach drop. My mother's sapphire bracelet was gone. She died when I was 16. That bracelet was the only piece of her jewelry I'd kept. A thin platinum chain with tiny sapphires that caught the light like tears. She'd made me promise to give it to my daughter someday. I never had a daughter. And now I didn't have the bracelet either. I called Maya and tried to keep my voice steady. He took my mother's bracelet. Are you sure? I keep it in one specific box. It's gone. He gave it to her, didn't he? Probably, she said. We'll add it to the list. That's theft of marital property, at minimum. New Year's Eve arrived cold and clear. I spent the afternoon at the gallery staring at a Rothko we just acquired, barely seeing it. My assistant asked if I was okay. I told her I was just tired. At 6 I went home to get ready. I picked a midnight blue outfit, simple, clean, understated. My father used to call clothes like that armor. He was a carpenter, practical to the bone, and he raised me alone after my mother died. He taught me that sometimes strength meant being steel-wrapped in silk. He'd passed away 3 months earlier. A sudden heart attack. Marcus had been supportive then, holding my hand, helping with arrangements. I wondered if he'd already been planning all of this. Marcus came home at 7, already in a tux from a client meeting. You look great, he said, kissing my temple. Ready for tonight? Ready, I said and smiled. Odyssey was exactly what Marcus loved. Exclusive, expensive, impressive. We arrived at 8. The other couples were already gathered around the bar, cocktails in hand, the city sparkling below us through the glass. I recognized most of them right away. Tom and Jennifer, his college friends. David and Rachel, clients who'd made their fortune in biotech. And the night was just getting started. There were others there too, people I'd crossed paths with at different events over the years. I did what I was expected to do. I made polite conversation. I laughed at the right moments. I complimented outfits and asked about holiday plans like everything was normal. All the while my phone sat inside my clutch, the recording app already running. At 8:30 we were seated for dinner. And that's when I saw her. Vivian Monroe walked in wearing a red dress that probably cost more than I made in a month. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. And there, sparkling under the chandeliers as she lifted her wrist, was my mother's sapphire bracelet. Forgot how to breathe. Marcus stood up immediately, smiling like this was all part of the plan, and pulled out the chair beside him. Not next to me, someone said quietly. Next to him, Marcus replied. Vivian sat down as if she'd always belonged there, like this was the most natural thing in the world. Everyone, Marcus announced, resting his hand on her shoulder. I don't think you've all met Vivian. She's been absolutely instrumental in the Cascade merger. Brilliant analyst. There was polite applause. A few confused looks drifted in my direction. I kept smiling. Dinner stretched on through 7 courses. I didn't taste a single bite. I watched Vivian laugh at Marcus's stories. I watched his hand brush her arm. I watched my bracelet flash every time she reached for her wine glass. At 11:30, the lights dimmed and the Times Square broadcast lit up the screens. Champagne appeared at every table. Before midnight, Marcus stood and tapped his glass. I want to say something, he said. The room went quiet. This year has been transformative for me, he continued. I've learned a lot about who I am, about what I really want, about being honest instead of hiding behind comfort and routine. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I pulled out my phone, pretended to read a message, and angled the camera so Marcus was perfectly in frame. So as we head into the new year, he said, I'm making a change. I'm starting fresh. He reached down and took Vivian's hand. Vivian and I are engaged. Gasps rippled through the room. Heads turned. Eyes landed on me. Vivian beamed, holding up her left hand to show off a diamond big enough to stop traffic. Marcus finally looked at me, his expression almost sympathetic. Elena, I know this is awkward, he said. But you knew this was coming. You signed the papers back in November. We've been divorced for 6 weeks. It's time to move on. The silence was crushing. Everyone was watching me now, waiting for the breakdown. The tears. The explosion. I smiled. Marcus blinked. What? Did I sign papers? I asked calmly. Are you sure about that? His confidence wavered. Elena, don't be dramatic. You know you did. My lawyer sent them. You signed and sent them back. I stood up slowly and placed my napkin on the table. Your lawyer sent papers, I said. Someone signed them and returned them. But Marcus, are you absolutely certain that someone was me? What are you talking about? He snapped, though doubt had crept into his voice. I opened my phone, pulled up a recording and hit play. A woman's voice filled the restaurant, steady and professional. Based on my analysis of the signature on the divorce documents filed in Clark County, Nevada, compared to authenticated samples of Elena Hartley's handwriting, it is my professional opinion that the signature was not made by Elena Hartley. The pressure points are inconsistent. The letter formations do not match. There are multiple indicators of simulation. This signature is a forgery. I stopped the recording. So no, Marcus, I said. I didn't sign your papers. Which means we aren't divorced. Which means you just announced your engagement to your mistress while still married to me, in front of 16 witnesses. The color drained from his face. Vivian's smile collapsed into something tight and panicked. That's impossible, Marcus said. You're lying. This is some kind of setup. Yes, I said. It is. Forging legal documents is fraud. Felony, actually. Movement caught my eye. Maya stood up from her table 3 rows back and walked toward us. I don't think I'd ever loved her more than I did in that moment. Marcus Hartley, she said, her voice carrying through the room. I'm Maya Chan, attorney at law. I'm here to serve you with several documents. She didn't rush. First, a restraining order preventing you from accessing or transferring any marital assets. Second, notice that a fraud investigation has been opened by the Massachusetts Attorney General's office. Third, confirmation that your employer has been notified and will be conducting its own internal review. She handed him the stack. His hands were shaking. Then Maya turned to Vivian. Miss Monroe, I need to inform you that you are currently wearing stolen property. That bracelet belongs to my client and was taken from the marital home without consent. Vivian clutched her wrist. Marcus gave it to me. It was a gift. I didn't steal anything. He didn't have the right to give it away, I said evenly. That bracelet was my mother's. The only thing I have left of her. And you're wearing it like party jewelry. I'm not taking it off, Vivian said, though her voice was already cracking. Maya pulled out her phone. Then I'll need to contact the Boston Police Department and report theft of property valued over $10,000. They can sort it out downtown. 10,000? Vivian whispered. Marcus said it was costume jewelry. The sapphires are Burmese, I said. The platinum is antique. My mother bought it in 1985 for $8,000. Current appraisal is $12,000. So yes, felony theft if you refuse to return it. Her fingers fumbled with the clasp. The bracelet dropped onto the table with a soft clink. She was crying now, mascara streaking down her face. Maya picked it up and placed it in my hand. The weight of it made my eyes burn, but I forced the tears back. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The restaurant was frozen. Every eye locked on our table instead of the screens. 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year, I said to Marcus. His face was gray. Elena, please, he whispered. We can talk. I made a mistake. I was confused. We can fix this. You're right, I said. We can fix this with lawyers, judges, and a very public divorce where everyone learns exactly who you really are. I turned and walked away. Maya fell into step beside me without a word. Behind us, I heard Vivian crying. I heard someone demand to know what Marcus had been thinking. I caught the start of the whispers, the kind that grow legs and run fast, and I knew the story would be everywhere in Boston by morning. Maya drove me home, but not to the brownstone I'd shared with Marcus. Instead, she took me to my father's old house in Dorchester. I'd inherited it when he passed, but I'd never been able to bring myself to sell it. That night I was grateful I hadn't. We sat in the kitchen where my dad used to make pancakes every Sunday morning. Maya put the kettle on. I held my mother's bracelet in my hands and tried to wrap my head around everything that had just happened. He'll be fired, Maya said. Fraud investigation on top of a public disaster like that? He's finished. Good, I said. Vivian might face. Also good. Maya studied my face. Are you okay? No, I said honestly. But I will be. The next 6 months were brutal. Marcus tried everything, begging, threatening, dangling settlements like peace offerings. His lawyer was expensive. Mine was better. Maya connected me with a divorce attorney who had zero patience for fraud. The handwriting expert testified. The forged papers were thrown out. The Nevada divorce was declared invalid. We started over in Massachusetts, where I had home court advantage. Marcus's firm did fire him. The fraud investigation uncovered enough irregularities to recommend charges. The district attorney eventually settled on probation and restitution. But his reputation in Boston's financial world was ruined. Vivian lost her job too. The last I heard, she'd moved back to New York and taken a position at a much smaller firm. The divorce was finalized in June. I kept the brownstone. I received half of Marcus's retirement accounts and a settlement that reflected 6 years of marriage plus the fraud. My lawyer made sure everyone understood exactly why we were asking for more than a standard split. But winning didn't feel the way I thought it would. My father had died just 3 weeks before I found those transfer documents. I'd been so buried in grief that I missed the signs of Marcus's affair. Missed months of lies. And during the divorce, when I should have been mourning my dad, I was instead drowning in court dates, legal fees, and the very public unraveling of my marriage. I never really got to grieve him. Marcus emailed me in July. He said he understood why I'd exposed him. Said he accepted the consequences. Said he still loved me, which somehow managed to be the most insulting thing of all. I deleted the message without replying. In August, I went back to the gallery full-time. I poured myself into work and curated an exhibition called After Midnight, featuring artists who created their strongest work after loss or trauma. It opened in September to solid reviews. I reconnected with friends I drifted away from during my marriage. I started therapy. I adopted a cat named Rothko who knocked over my coffee every morning and slept on my feet every night. I wore my mother's bracelet to gallery openings and important meetings. When people asked about it, I told them it was an inheritance from someone who taught me that beautiful things deserve fierce protection. Almost a year after that night at Odyssey, Maya invited me to a quiet New Year's Eve at her place. Just her husband, and a few close friends. We played board games, ate too much cheese, and counted down with cider instead of champagne. At 11:50, Maya pulled me aside. "How are you really doing?" she asked. I thought about the brownstone that was finally mine. About the career I'd rebuilt. About therapy sessions where I was at last unpacking my father's death. About learning how to trust again, slowly, carefully. "I'm okay," I said. "Not healed. Not over it. But okay." Maya smiled. "That's more than enough." At midnight, we hugged and made wishes for the new year. I wished for peace. For art. For a kind of love that doesn't require pretending. Sometimes I thought about Marcus, wondered if he ever understood what he'd actually lost. Not the money or the job or the status, though those mattered to him, but me. The person who loved him honestly, before he decided honesty wasn't enough. I thought about Vivian too. Whether she learned anything watching her perfect plan fall apart. Whether she could ever wear sapphires again without remembering the woman she tried to replace. Mostly, though, I thought about myself. About the version of me who sat at that New Year's Eve dinner and smiled through humiliation. Who recorded her own public betrayal not out of revenge, but because she wanted the truth. I'd won everything a court could give me. But the real victory wasn't the house or the settlement or even watching Marcus face consequences. The real victory was this. I survived. I rebuilt. I learned that I was strong enough to be steel wrapped in silk, just like my father taught me. And when midnight came and another year began, I was standing in a room full of people who truly loved me, holding a glass of cider, wearing my mother's bracelet, and finally, starting to feel whole again. That was worth more than any revenge ever could be.